Welcome to the Iris Flower Brush Set. In this tutorial, I will show you how to identify and understand the different types of brushes, as well as how to use two-color brushes for making multicolor images. And then I will quickly demo the different flowers, and then we'll create stems and add iris beards, and finally add iris leaves. When you open up the iris flower set, you will see all kinds of brushes. Now, if you purchased it through Etsy, you will get two folders. And later, if you want to combine them by just clicking and dragging them into the other folder, you can do that. Okay, so all of my stamps will tell you first the name of what it is, and then if it's a one color or two color brush, and then whether it is a stamp or a brush. Now, a stamp is where you just tap the surface and it sort of like just rubber stamps it, the whole image right on there, and just goes bang, there it is. And a brush is where you need to literally brush the artwork onto your canvas. So look at the description before you use it, and then it will help you understand what you need to do as far as, do you stamp it or do you brush it? Do you need one color or do you need two colors? It'll just kind of help you understand what you're using. So if you've never tried a two-color brush, you're in for a treat. Let's try out one of the two-color brushes. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pick iris number 1. I can see it's two color and it's a stamp. Alright, so that means I need two colors. Now if I look up here at the color picker, it says that right now I have sort of a red color. So there's going to be like red paint on here when I stamp it or brush it, whatever my thing is. And then that's great, but I really want to have, let's say, a purple, no. Let's do like a yellow iris with purple shading. Why not? Let's give it a shot. All right, so I'll start with my darker color first. I'll click here and I will pick a dark purple. Now, if you went ahead and downloaded the iris flower palette that I give you and just opened it, it will show up here under palettes. So you can pick from there, or you can find your own colors. This is just sort of to get you started. All right, so here's purples. I think I'll pick this purple right there. I like that one. Click it, and it shows right up here in the little circle. This is called your active color. This is the color that if it was a one color, you'd start painting with that color. So it's activated and it's in there. But I want two colors. So where are they? Okay, well, if you look down here at the bottom of this panel, there are 4 other panels. All of these 4 panels work the same. They're just offering you a way to access color. So they just have different looks to them. So like value looks like that, has little scrollers. Harmony is round, classic is square, disc. So you pick the one that you like the most. I like the classic. Click it, and then look, there is the 2 little color panels. And I can see there's my purple. And also I can see, since I picked it from the iris flower palette, it's showing up there. It basically shows me the palette that I most recently used, and also the most recent colors. Ooh, cool. All right, so this right here, this little swatch on the left is called your primary color, and the one on the right is called your secondary color. And then once again, the circle is your active color. All right, so I built most of these brushes to have the darker or the shadow color. to be on the right or secondary color. So I need to get the purple into there. I can see a bunch of purples. I can go there. There we go. And then I'm going to put my lighter color, or the highlight. I'm going to click that primary swatch to the left and put in a yellow. So it's going to be a yellow flower with deep purple shadows. And then you want to make sure to click the primary swatch last and make sure that the active color and the primary color are the same. If you don't, like let's say I click the purple, now the secondary color's up there, now I go back, it flip-flopped my color selection. So now I have a purple flower with yellow shading. Nothing wrong with that, but that's not what I want. So I gotta go back here and somehow get the purple in the secondary and the yellow in the primary, then double check that that circle up there matches this left-hand side. Okay, perfect. Get my stamp, make the size I want. I'm going to have full opacity, and pow! Stamp it on. There it is. So you can see I have the deep purple shadows and I have the yellow highlights. So it's basically, whoa, it's basically a yellow flower with purple shading. Now, if I was to do it the opposite way, I'll do that, where I select the secondary color last and it puts it in the active color. Watch what happens. Okay, so now if you look, now I have yellow shading on a purple flower, kind of. It's inversed it. So you see how that's a lot of purple there, and that's a lot of yellow. It took it and flip-flopped it. Now that might be the look that you want, but if it isn't, make sure to always double check that this primary, what the primary here matches there, is what you want. And like I said, I set most of the flowers to have the dark color to be in the secondary swatch and the light color to be in the primary swatch, and it needs to match that little circle. All right, you'll get used to it if you've never done it before. It gets easier after a while. And remember, you can always go over here to your little undo button, which is so wonderful. One of the best things about working with digital painting is if you don't like it, you just undo it and start over. All right, so now let's try out all the different flower stamps and add 2 colors to them. Once you've created some flowers, you're going to need some stems. For stems, I have two different kinds of brushes. One right here, the stem brush 2-color, or the stem stamp 2-color. The brush, of course, you will brush it on and you can be more freeform with it. And the stamp is going to maybe be a little bit more detailed and realistic and simple, and you can just place it in there. Okay, so let's look at the stem brush. So it's a 2-color. I'm going to need 2 colors, and I've got a bunch of different greens down here. So I'm going to pick a very dark green and a lemony green here. And let's see, get the size that I want. It's sometimes hard to tell the size till you do it. Okay, wow, not too bad. Okay, so let's try that again in the reverse. Oh, I think I like that better. It kind of glows. That's totally up to you. So here's, you can create all kinds of stems. And I would look at how iris, look at some pictures of how the stems are. They often kind of branch off as they make little buds. And you can kind of play with that. I'm going into my smear tool now to kind of work it so that it comes together a little bit better. And then this could be a place where I would put a bud. So yeah, I would have to work that just a little bit more to get it looking nice. I'm just using the smear tool to kind of help create that branch off like that. And now let's take a look at the brush stamp. So here's the stem stamp, and it is a 2-color stamp. You can't miss it that it's a stamp, right? Okay, so let's see. I liked that dark color and the light color in the secondary, so I'm going to try that. And I would put this on a separate layer because it's hard to stamp it perfectly in the right place. And it may take a couple tries to even get the size that you want. Alright, so I'm going to even enlarge this a little bit more. There we go. And move it in and do that. So now this one, you can move it whatever way you want. You could flip it. I went to do the transform and I'm flipping it. So either way you want it, you can do that. And then here you can put a little bud in there. So let's put a purple bud in there because this was based on a real iris and the way that they you see how they branch off and start creating more buds and flowers. That's what they look like. Alright, so I'll go to my bud brush and let's see, the buds are right here. There's the iris bud. And I'm going to make the bud similar colors, of course, to the big flower. So that one was a deep blue and a sort of magenta there. And I will put it on a separate layer as well. I might make the bud color a little lighter. Let's try that. There we go. Ah, that looks really nice. And now you're going to have to go into the transform tool here and adjust it a little. Let's see, I'm on uniform. That's fine. Woo. Okay, let's pull this over here a little. Get it situated in there. Okay, now it's on top. I want it underneath the stem, and that's why I created layers. So now I can pull that bud layer underneath, and look, it fits right in there like that. So there you go. It's a very realistic stem. And then you can always go in here and work this a little bit more. Like sometimes I like that little element there and sometimes I don't. So I can work that by erasing or smearing it a little and kind of pushing it up in there. But I'm going to leave that up to you to use your own creativity and refine things in a way that you want them to look. I think it's time we discuss beards. Some iris have what's called beards, and they're called bearded iris, and some don't. What are beards? They're that little, I don't know, like yellowy orange filaments that come out of the bottom leaves, and the bottom leaves have a name. They're called falls. And those little beards that you'll see on some of the iris, they serve as a place for pollinating insects to hold on to the petals when they're looking for nectar inside the flower. And pretty clever. So I have a brush for that because it really is a distinctive element on some iris. So what I'm going to do is create a new layer. And I'm going to call that layer Beards. And then I'm going to go ahead and get my beard brush. So here is Iris Beards. And the beard brush that I gave you is a one-color brush. So I'm going to show you a little trick of how to use it. I would select white as your first one color there because it's a one-color brush. And then we're going to brush them on and then add the color after. After much testing, I just found that that looked better than for me to create you a two-color brush. So from lots of practice, this is what I found worked and looked the best. So here we go. We'll get up close here. And then I'm going to show you when you're, first of all, the way you want to brush these brushes is you want to either brush from top down or from left to right. So, or anywhere in between that, top down, left to right. But once you start doing like the opposite, like if you go from right to left, it's going to be upside down. Or if you go up like that, it's going to be upside down. Okay, so here we go. The beards come from the inside of the leaf, kind of curve with the leaf and out. And let's see, on this leaf it would be kind of curving out here. Ooh. And you can make a couple sort of different sizes, maybe some little ones as they kind of come out, or bigger ones. And then there is a back leaf right here. And maybe it would have like a few just showing, but it's kind of, it probably is at an angle that would be hard to see it. All right, so here we go. I've got some beards on my iris, and this is a bearded iris. So let's go ahead, and now what I'm going to do is go to the layer and turn it to alpha lock, so that that will lock everything outside of the little beards. And now I can colorize the beards without overcoloring them. So I'm going to go ahead and pick, let's see, sort of a, maybe a golden yellow. I'll start with that. And I'm just going to use a soft airbrush from the Procreate Basics, what they give you. You can use just about any brush that you like. I just like the soft airbrush, so I'm going to use it. It's not really important what brush you're using here, but some kind of brush, okay? And I'm just kind of hitting the tops. It's not like you have to go in and hit the individual top of each of these. You just want to kind of brush along the tops here. Brush along the tops. There we go. And these are very small filaments, so really, if you look at photos of iris, a lot of times you can't even really tell that there's so much of little white filaments in there. So this is just sort of, you're giving the impression of these little filaments here. And some filaments actually have a little bit of orange in them. So I'm gonna spice this up a little, give it a little bit of orange here. Just a little bit, kind of have it go from orange to that yellow. I think that is just so pretty. There we go. Okay, so just remember to always create a separate layer and turn it on alpha lock after you create the filaments, and then you can have fun painting the tops of them. Now let's take a look at the leaf brushes. Over here there is an iris leaf brush. It's 2-color and it is a brush, so you will be brushing it. This leaf brush will create all the different kinds of iris leaves that you will actually need. It's just a matter of how you use the brush. It will create different styles of leaves. So that's what I'm going to show you. All right, so I'll click that, and I want 2 colors because it's a 2-color brush. So let's see, I'm on the classic mode here. There we go, I've got yellow as my primary, that's nice. And let's do a deep green for the secondary, or a regular green, let's see, there we go. Oh, you know what, I think instead of yellow, I actually have a lime green here. Okay, so I have lime green here on the primary left side, and it has to also show up here. You don't want the dark there. You want light, and then the dark there. Okay, that looks right. All right, so for the brushes, you want sort of a light and quick motion. If you go slow, it's gonna look a little wonky. So you want to have a light and quick stroke. Now the quicker it is, the more pointy it is. The slower it is, the less pointy it is. So practice the speed and the way you stroke it down. So I'm going to go ahead and make some and show you. All right, so let's say regular irises that we're used to, the sort of standard ones you've seen in people's gardens, kind of a little bit fatter. And the leaves that are for the wild iris are a little sort of tall, spiky, and thin. So I made my brush a little smaller. I went like that. Okay, so just be careful of, what size is it and the speed that you're moving. Once again, if you move too slow, you're going to get a very funny looking leaf. So practice the speed of which you use these strokes. And iris leaves are very just like straightforward, They don't bend and stuff. But if you wanted to be playful and have some fun, these leaves do bend. and they follow your brush. So if you want to get sort of imaginative with your leaves, you can do that. And on the palette that I provided you with, there's on the bottom row a number of different types of greens. I have more of the yellow greens, and then I also have blue greens. But you know, go ahead and explore what kinds of greens you want. Try flip-flopping these. Let's see, I'll put the green in there. Let's try that one. Now I have a darker leaf, and so forth. All right, so there you go. There's the leaves. Practice the speed at which you create them, and I think you'll be successful.